Okay. So, um, let's start with perfect competition. In perfect competition, the demand curve that a firm is facing is horizontal. Looks like this. This is the demand curve that the firm is facing. And it's also, it represents the marginal revenue curve and the average revenue curve. So, because in perfect competition, they can sell as many or as few items at the same price. For anybody else, if they want to sell more units, they have to lower the price. Monopoly, monopolistic competition, oligopoly. But in the case of perfect competition, the price is determined in the industry. The firm has no impact on the price. So not a single firm will set their own price. The price is set by the industry, and then the firm is a price taker. And this is the price that was set by the industry. And at this price, they can sell as few or as many units that the firm wants. Obviously, the number of units that the firm wants to sell is not just any number, but is that Q star. It's the profit maximizing, loss minimizing quantity. So if they produce at Q star, and in this case, we need marginal cost, where if they produce an output where marginal revenue exactly here, that's Q star. Marginal revenue equals marginal cost. Do you see all those units here up to Q star? They contribute more to the revenue than they contribute to the cost. So it makes sense for them to produce it. As soon as you go past Q star, then each unit contributes more to the cost than it contributes to the revenue. So it makes no longer sense to produce past Q star. So if I'm making a profit at Q star, I'm going to make the maximum positive profit. But if I'm taking a loss, if I produce at Q star, I'm making the least amount of a loss. So if I make a profit, I want to be at Q star. If I make a loss, I still want to be at Q star because I'm losing the least amount. And how do we determine whether you make a profit or a loss? Well, you have to look at where is the price with respect to average total cost. So I got to show you the average total cost curve. Let's see that this is average total cost. We know where we're producing. We're producing at Q star. But this is the price that I'm selling each unit for. And this is the average cost. This distance here is the average cost of each unit. So each unit on average costs me, let's say, $15. And each unit on average, I'm selling it, because I'm selling it each unit at the same price, $10. Am I making a loss or a profit? Anybody?
Loss.
A loss, exactly. I'm losing $5 per unit. And then if I multiply this $5 per unit times the number of units, then I'm going to get the total loss. Because if I'm producing 100 units, Q star is 100, let's say, then total loss is going to be 5 times 100 or $500. Exactly. Now, whether I know that I'm losing money, but now I got to determine, well, does it make sense for me to shut down or stay in business? For that, I need to look at where is the price with respect to the average variable cost. If the price is higher than the average variable cost, then I'm going to stay in business. If the price is lower than the average variable cost, then I will shut down. So let me draw the average variable cost. Obviously, the average variable cost is going to be below the average total cost because average total is average variable plus average fixed. Well, the average variable cost is you go from Q star all the way to the average variable cost, and then you can read here what is the value for the average variable cost. And you can see that the price is greater than the average variable cost, and therefore in this case I want to stay in business. Okay, because what's happening is that means that my revenue, price times quantity, which is revenue, my revenue is able to cover the variable cost, my labor, my materials, and so on. And then whatever is left over after I paid all the variable cost, whatever is left over, it can go towards paying some of the fixed cost. If I shut down, I'm going to be stuck with the whole fixed cost and I would have to pay it all out of my pocket. But here, some of the revenues after I paid my variable cost, some of those revenues that is left over can go towards paying the fixed cost. So I don't have to pay the whole fixed cost out of my pocket. All right. Obviously, if the average variable cost was here, then the price would be less than the average variable cost, and I would be better off shutting down. Now, I know somebody, Trevor, I think, asked me a couple of questions, and I guess he cannot make it to class today, on Wednesday, he said. Anyway, but if you have a problem like this, let me show you a type of problem, just because I remember. Then I'll go into monopoly and monopolistic competition, and I'll go. If you have a problem like this, I give you marginal revenue, I give you marginal cost, I give you average total cost, and I give you average variable cost. This is an example of perfect competition, because only in perfect competition, marginal revenue is the same as the price. In monopoly, monopolistic competition, marginal revenue is no longer the same as the price. Marginal revenue is less than the price. But in perfect competition, since I'm selling all the units for the same price, then marginal revenue, obviously each unit contributes the price. I sell one unit at $10, it contributes $10. Another unit, $10, contributes $10. So each unit, the price represents also the marginal revenue. So if I don't give you a price, if you don't have the price, then that must be perfect competition, because only in perfect competition, you know that the price is the same as marginal revenue. So actually, I did give you marginal revenue because it's the same as the, I give you the price because it's the same as marginal revenue. Okay, but first things first, when you have a problem like this, when you have a problem where it says, well, you are at an output where if you go up to the marginal revenue curve, you find out that it's equal to 10, marginal cost 8, average total cost 6 and 4. Okay. First of all, let me ask you a question. Well, actually, Kimiko, because you're the only one with that, but you can give me an answer by typing. Since you know the price is equal to $10. Is this firm making a profit or a loss?
Profit.
Profit, exactly. And I know exactly how much profit they're making per unit. I don't know the number of units, so I cannot tell the total profit, but I know that per unit is making $4. Agreed?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Next question is, but is that the maximum profit? And the answer is no. How come no? Because marginal revenue is not the same as marginal cost. So we are not at Q star. Okay. So we're not here. So we must be either someplace here or someplace here. If we are here, we want to increase the output. If we are here, we want to decrease the output. So we are not at a Q where marginal revenue equals marginal cost. If you are here, then you have that marginal cost is less than marginal revenue, and therefore you want to increase the output. If you are where marginal cost is greater than marginal revenue, then you want to decrease the output. So what do we want to do in order to maximize profits?
You wanted me at the Q star.
Yeah, in other words, you want to go to Q star. So you want to increase or decrease output? Look at value for marginal revenue and value for marginal cost. Which one is greater?
Increase the output.
Exactly, increase the output, because we are at a point where the value for this guy is 10 and the value for marginal cost is 8. So we want to increase the output. Okay, so if with any problem like this, first thing that you do is you look at marginal revenue and marginal cost. If they're not equal to each other, then you want to either increase the output or decrease the output. If marginal revenue, here in this case, marginal revenue greater than marginal cost, increase. If marginal revenue less than marginal cost, decrease. Okay, now, here's a perfectly competitive firm making a profit, $4 per unit. Now they are making maximum profit because they are producing at Q star, where marginal revenue equals marginal cost. This firm is ecstatic because they're making a positive economic profit. They're making abnormal profits. They should not be making that type of profits, but they are lucky enough to make them. What's the economic profit now? Okay, Kimiko.
0.
Go ahead.
0 profit.
Zero economic profit. Zero economic profit. Zero economic profit doesn't mean that they're making no profit at all. It means that they are making a normal economic profit. They are making what they should be making. Firms that make zero economic profit are perfectly happy because you're making what you should be making. Think of it this way. Let's say that the going rate for a fresh new business major, let's say that you just graduated from with your business degree. Okay. And let's suppose that the going rate, starting salary for such a person with a business degree is $60,000. And you go and you have the interview and they say, well, we would like to offer you a job and the starting salary is going to be $60,000. You know that that's the going rate. So is that a fair offer? Yes, absolutely. Are you happy? Yes, you're going to be happy because you're making what you should be making. Now, if the going rate is 60,000 and they offer you $100,000, then you should be ecstatic because you're making $40,000 more than you should be making. On the other hand, if the going rate is 60,000 and they offer you 20,000, then you should turn them down, or 40,000. Turn them down because they should be offering you $60,000. So zero economic profit means you're making $60,000. More than that, positive economic profit. Less than that, negative economic profit. Okay, so here we're making zero economic profit. The firm is perfectly happy and you are exactly where you should be because you are at a point where marginal revenue equals marginal cost. What's going on now? Kimiko?
Negative economic profit.
Negative, exactly. Now you're making negative economic profit. However, the price is greater than the average variable cost. So you're going to stay in business until the end of the lease. And you would be foolish to stay in business forever, just until the end of the lease. So you are making negative economic profit. You're losing actually $2 per unit. But since you're covering the variable cost, you're better off staying in business and using whatever is left over after you paid all the variable cost, using that to pay some of the fixed cost. Not all of it, but some of it. Now, again, we're losing money. We're losing $2 per unit, but I'm not even able to cover the variable cost. So I got to pay money out of my pocket to cover the variable cost and then to pay the fixed cost. Makes no sense for me to stay in business. I shut it down, and the only cost that I'm going to have to pay out of my pocket is the fixed cost. The variable costs have disappeared. So this is an example of shutting down. Now, remember, if the problem, for example, would be a monopolist, then I would have to show you what is the price, marginal revenue, marginal cost, average total cost, average variable cost. Because for a monopolist or a monopolistically competitive firm, the price is not the same as marginal revenue, only for perfect competition. All right. Let me give you a hint for a problem that you will have on a test, because I looked at it and it's probably the hardest problem. It's going to show you different, let me, is going to give you different outputs and is going to ask you, well, what is the profit maximizing output? In other words, let's say you have 100 unit, 101, 102, 103, 4, 5, and so on. And you got to pick how many units is the profit maximizing firm, how many units is that firm producing? Well, the way we always find the Q star is when marginal revenue is the same as marginal cost. So you got to find what is the value for marginal revenue and at how many units you're going to find that marginal cost, the contribution of that additional unit to the cost is exactly the same as the value for marginal revenue. So that's how you find the Q star. Look at what is the value for marginal revenue and make it the same for marginal cost. So you got to take a look at marginal cost. And if you have different costs for different output, marginal cost is going to be the difference between the cost. Because if, for example, when I produce 100 unit, total cost is $205. And when I produce 101 units, total cost is $215. Well, what is the contribution of the 101st unit? Because this is the cost of 101 units, and this is the cost with 100 units. So that means that the contribution or the marginal cost of the 101st unit is how much? Kimiko, can you tell me?
Question again?
How much does the 101st unit contribute to the cost?
205.
No. When you think of it this way, when you produce 100 units, the cost that you have for producing those 100 units is $205. That's how much it costs you to produce 100 units. And then you produce 101 units. And now your cost goes up to 215. Marginal cost of the 101st unit is how much the 101st unit contributes to the cost. So how much did it add to the costs?
10.
10, exactly. How did you get it? Well, if 100 units cost you 205 and 101 units are costing 215, that means that 101st unit added another $10 to my total cost. That's the marginal cost. So you need marginal revenue equals marginal cost. Then you're going to have another problem where it says, well, what is the profit maximizing sum? How much is a firm that is profit maximizing? How much are they making in profit? Well, if you are given the price and the quantity, you are given total revenue, because price times quantity equals how much money is coming in. And if you know how much that number of unit, the Q star, if you know how much it's costing you, well, if you have total revenue and you have total cost, you subtract total cost from total revenue, and whatever's left over is going to be the profit. And since you looked for the unit where you have Q star, that represents the maximum profit. Okay, very good. Question: for a monopolist, what does a monopolist have to do in order to sell additional units?
They have to, monopoly is they have to
lower the price. They have to lower the price because a monopolist is faced with a regular demand curve, normal demand curve. And if you want to sell additional units, you're going to have to lower the price. At this price, they sell so many units, and at this price, they sell that many units. But they have to lower the price on all the units. They cannot sell one unit and one price, another unit and another price, another unit. They have to sell all the units at the same price. This is the reason why marginal revenue curve for a monopolist is not going to be the same as the demand curve, but it's going to lie below the demand curve. So here is the demand and here is marginal revenue curve. And then to find Q star, we have to have the marginal cost. And the profit maximizing quantity is going to be where marginal revenue equals marginal cost. And we're going to find the price up on the demand curve. We go from Q star all the way here. And this is the maximum price that the firm can charge and sell Q star units. Are they making a profit or a loss? Well, I need the average total cost. I want to find out what is the average total cost when we sell Q star units. By looking at that graph, can you tell me whether the firm, this monopolist, is making a profit or a loss?
profit. Oh no, loss.
Loss. Why? because here's the price that they're selling each one of those Q star units. And that's the average cost of a unit. You're selling each unit for 10 bucks, but it costs you 15 bucks to produce it. You're losing money. For you to make money, the price has to be where with respect to the average total cost?
Below the price.
Yes, yes, exactly. So average total cost has to be below the price. In other words, each unit you're selling at a price that is higher than the average cost of a unit. Very good. Let's go back to this situation where they're losing money. Whether we shut down or stay in business depends on where the price is with respect to the average variable cost. So I got to find out where is the average variable cost. And let's say that I put the average variable cost here. Which one is higher, the average variable cost or the price? Here's the average variable cost.
Average variable cost is higher than the price.
Yep. So you're not even able to cover your variable cost out of your revenues. So at the end of the day, you got to pay. The revenues did not cover all your workers. So you got to reach into your pocket and take money and pay some of the workers, and then reach into your pocket and pay the fixed cost. You're better off shutting down the business, and you're only going to have to pay the fixed cost out of your pocket. Yes, Kimiko.
Oh, nothing.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Is there a question in Monopoly that it's giving just those numbers only, like earlier in the perfect competition?
No.
It's gonna be a graph.
No, there's not going to be a graph. I could not transfer graphs from the test bank to Canvas.
It's gonna be all wording.
Yeah. There's going to be some numbers. Like I showed you the example where I give you different outputs. I tell you that it's a perfectly competitive firm and I give you the price, so you know marginal revenue, and then you got to find out where marginal cost is the same as marginal revenue. And another problem, you're going to find the Q star, and then price times quantity equals revenue, and minus total cost equals profit. So you're going to have some numerical problems.
Okay.
There's going to be question about price discrimination. Price discrimination has nothing to do with race, religion, or anything like that. Price discrimination is when a firm is able to determine that there are different groups of people who want their product differently. Somebody really wants their product, and somebody is kind of like lukewarm about their product. Well, you're going to be able to charge different prices. You're going to charge a higher price to the people who really want it badly, and a lower price who don't want it so bad. So that's what price discrimination. Different prices to different groups of people who want your good differently.
Price
Yeah.
discrimination is available in oligopoly.
Price discrimination is available to anyone other than perfect competition.
Anything other than okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
remember that in perfect competition, the firm has no impact on the price. They're a price taker. They don't set their own price. The price is set by the industry, by the supply and demand of that industry. And the firm takes that price. Okay, now,
Or no price discrimination on the monopoly, right?
no, monopolists can't price discriminate. Yeah. I said only perfect competition cannot price discriminate.
But in a, well, I thought you said in the class that there was no price discrimination in the monopoly. Was I?
No, I say in perfect competition.
Just in perfect competition. Okay, I must have that.
So perfectly competitive firms cannot price discriminate.
Okay.
All the others, they can do it. And price discrimination has to do with how much different groups of people want your product. It has nothing to do with differences in cost. In other words, imagine that you have two gas stations, and one is in one neighborhood, another one is in a different neighborhood, and you charge different prices. If those prices are different because in one neighborhood, let's say, people are willing to pay a higher price, and in the other neighborhood, people are willing to pay only a lower price, then that would be price discrimination. But if you charge a higher price in one neighborhood because you are paying a higher rent, and a lower price in another neighborhood because you are paying a lower rent, then that would, and differences in prices represent differences in cost, then that would not be price discrimination. Okay.
Okay.
Can anybody tell me what is the, well, you don't have mics, so Kimiko, what is the dominant strategy in prisoner's dilemma? Is it to cooperate or not to cooperate? The dominant strategy.
Yeah.
So the dominant strategy is the strategy that you're going to take no matter what the other person does. And we know that in prisoner's dilemma, they end up confessing, both of them.
Confessing prisoner dilemma.
So they choose not to cooperate. They choose not to cooperate, not to stay strong, and they rat on each other. And that ends up that both of them have worse outcomes than if they would cooperate with each other. You know, so that's the dilemma. Cooperation makes them better off, but they end up worse off. So that's prisoner's dilemma. Now, remember this, that if on a test you're asked about what is the dominant strategy, the answer is not to cooperate with each other. To confess, not to cooperate. Okay, very good. But remember, prisoner's dilemma works if you play it once with strangers. But if the game is played repeatedly, they eventually learn that they end up worse off, and they're going to start cooperating with each other. So in real life, prisoner's dilemma doesn't work with businesses because they play the game repeatedly. And once you play the game repeatedly, then you start cooperating with each other. But if you play it once, yeah, it works perfectly fine. For oligopolies, they produce similar but differentiated products. For oligopolies, there are a few firms that make up the industry. So there is interdependence or strategic dependence between the firms. the actions of one will impact everyone. So if Delta raises the prices or lowers the prices, that's going to impact American Airlines, is going to impact United. Why? Because there's so few of them. So the acts of one impact everyone. So in oligopolies, this strategic dependence is very, very important. In other words, the actions of one impact everyone. In monopolistic competition, they produce similar but differentiated products, but there are many, 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 many of them. So the actions of one is not going to impact everyone. But when there are a few firms that make up the industry, yeah, the actions of one will impact everyone. So if there are few firms that make up oligopoly, we can predict that probably those firms are rather large, as opposed to monopolistic competition where there are many, 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 many of them. So the implication is that they are rather small firms. In the long run, if there are many, many, many firms, that means that it's easy to get in, easy to get out. So that implies that in the long run, the only profits they can make are zero economic profits. In the short run, anything is possible, positive, zero, or negative economic profits in the short run. But in perfect competition and in monopolistic competition, since there are many, 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 many of them, that means that they're rather small. That means that it's rather easy to get in and out. So therefore, in the long run, only zero economic profits are possible. Okay, good. Folks, let me ask you, well, Kimiko again. Sorry, but you're the only one with a mic. If a firm, oh yeah, you had a problem, oh, this one comes right out of your quiz. And it was a question that said something like this. If perfectly competitive firm, the price is $200. The price is equal to $200. And the average variable cost at its minimum is equal to $250. At its minimum, the average variable cost is equal to $250. How many units is that firm producing? And the answer was zero. Exactly, zero, because you are not covering the variable cost. So you're going to shut down this business. Remember, if the average variable cost is above the price, you will shut down. Good.
That is, as in, it's negative profit. That's why, right?
Not only it's a negative profit, because to determine, no, Kimiko, to determine whether you make a profit or a negative profit, you look at the price and average total cost. If the price is greater than the average total cost, you're making a positive profit. But if the price is less than the average total cost, you're making a negative economic profit. But now you got to determine, should I, even though I'm losing money, should I stay in business in the short run or should I just shut it down? So then you compare the price to the average variable cost. And if the price is less than the average variable cost, you shut down. If the price is higher than the average variable cost, you're going to stay in business until the lease is up. Because if the price is higher than the average variable cost, that means that your revenue is higher than the variable cost. So you can pay all your variable costs, and whatever is left over can go towards paying some of the fixed cost. If you were to shut down, you would have to pay the whole fixed cost. The lease, you would have to pay it out of your own pocket. But if the revenues are covering the variable cost, and then you have some money left over, then you're better off staying in business until the end of the lease, because you use some of the leftover to pay some of the fixed cost, and you don't have to pay the whole fixed cost out of your pocket. The fixed cost is paid with some money from the revenue and some money from your pocket. Understand now?
Yes.
Okay.
It's just the wording that I get confused, so I have to see
Yeah.
the wording.
Remember, if you shut down a business, you're still gonna have to pay the fixed cost. So if you shut down a business, whatever the lease is, you're gonna have to pay it out of your pocket. Let's say the lease is $10,000 a month. If you shut down the business, you're still gonna have to pay the lease until the end of the year, or 2 years, or however many years you signed it for. So you're gonna have to get into your pocket and take out $10,000, $10,000. But even though you're losing money, you're able to pay all your employees and the material and whatever. And then there's still, let's say, $2,000 that is left over. That means that you don't have to reach into your pocket and come up with $10,000, but only with $8,000, because $2,000 is coming from the revenues, is left over from the revenues.
Mhm.
So in that case, you want to stay in business until the lease is up. Even though you're losing money, you're still better off staying in business rather than shutting down. Because remember, the fixed cost, you're going to be stuck with that fixed cost. Okay.
And that applies in all
Yes.
farms. Any
Yes.
farm.
Yes. Okay, folks. So basically, we're done with this. Just want to remind you that the test is available Thursday and Friday. So Thursday, I'm not going to have office hours. I will have office hours tomorrow and Wednesday. So I'm going to hold office hours at the regular time. For you micro guys, it's going to be 1 o'clock. If you want to show up, if you have a quick question, I'm also on Wednesday. I am at 6 o'clock. So last minute question, no problem. But Thursday, I'm not going to have office hours.
20 questions for 1 hour?
25.
25 1 hour?
Yep.
Okay.
So test available starting Thursday at 6 a.m. first thing in the morning, and it's available until Friday at midnight.
Okay.
Don't exit the test until you're done. Answers will be released on Saturday. Of course, as soon as you turn in the test, you're gonna get the grade, but the answers will be released on Saturday. And then Monday, I'm gonna go over the test at 1 o'clock. Okay, so we're gonna have that review, of which of course I'm gonna tape it again and post it. Then next week, Thursday and Friday, makeup exam. And don't worry about it. I know that Canvas has some problems with 2 tests and does that average thing. I have access to your first score and the makeup score if you take the makeup exam. And I take the higher of the 2 grades. I know that Canvas, for some reason, likes to put in an average value, but I don't take the average. I only take the higher of the 2. Okay.
Okay. I took twice, but unfortunately I got the same score, so it didn't matter.
There you go. Waste of time. So any questions? Any last questions? Let me turn this off.